Think growing Hoyas is all about cuttings? Think again. Today I'm showing you how to grow these Hoya beauties from seed, and trust me, the payoff is worth the patience. Hey plant fam, welcome back to ShyGirlPlants. If you're brand new and just joining me, my name is Cheyenne, and I am so glad you're here. Because in today's video, we're gonna be talking all about growing Hoya from seed. Yes, this entire tray is seed-grown Hoya that I've grown myself. I started getting into seed-grown Hoya last fall, so I've been growing these since last fall. And let me tell you, it has been so much fun growing something from seed, especially Hoya, which is one of my favorites. And it has just been so cool because growing Hoya from seed produces genetically unique plants. So each of these plants in this front half of the tray all came from the same seed pod, which is what the Hoya plant produces once it has been pollinated, and then the seeds pop out from that pod. So all these came from the same seed pod, and yet every single one of these little seedlings, their genetics are different. Just to give you a little bit of an example, the seedlings that I have on the back of that tray, and I'm gonna pull a few, they are Hoya obscura open pollinated, meaning we don't know who the pollen parent was. Basically, the grower has a bunch of Hoya in their collection, and multiple Hoya were blooming at the same time. And then wind or birds or bees, natural pollinators, were able to snag some pollen from one of those plants and then go and pollinate another plant. So whatever other Hoya were in close vicinity, any of those could be the pollen parent, right? So we don't know. And so these seedlings, there's a bunch of them, but these are all Hoya obscura crossed with unknown, or also considered open pollinated. And look at these, how different they are, right? So this one here is giving obscura silver vibes. Like, are we seeing the silver on that? Which is wild. Then this middle one, is this variegation? I don't know. We'll have to see as it continues to develop more. And then this last one, as opposed to the others, also is giving a little bit of silvery splash, but not as silver as that first one. And yet these all came from the same seed pod. So that's what I'm saying. Each of these plants could be genetically different, and by growing Hoya from seed, you could possibly end up with a unicorn. If I'm not mistaken, that is how we have gotten some of these Hoya unicorns out there, is from open pollination like this. So I'm crossing my fingers that one day I will end up with a unicorn from trying my luck at growing Hoya seeds. We haven't gotten there yet, although maybe, I don't know, if this variegation on the Hoya obscura develops more, who knows what'll happen, but you'll be the first to know if I end up with a crazy unicorn Hoya. But anyway, I digress. I am a plant nerd and I'm absolutely obsessed with this. So I'm gonna share everything that I have learned since starting to grow Hoya from seed last fall. We're gonna talk about where I get my seeds, how to start them, how to get them germinating, how to care for them, what to do once they start to develop, and how to transplant them so that they're their own little individual plants. And then what the heck I do with them now that I have all these abundance of seeds and seedlings growing in my care. We have a lot to talk about, so let's dive in. Okay, so first things first, sourcing. Where do I find my Hoya seeds? This is a pack of seeds, in case you weren't following me there. I have gotten all of my Hoya seeds so far from sellers on the US Hoya Market Facebook group, which I will link in the description below. Now, do know that this is a United States Facebook group for those of my friends out there who are international. So maybe there are Facebook groups similar to this in your area, but just know that this group specifically is in the United States. There may be some sellers that ship internationally, or maybe they are international, but from what I've seen, most of them are just in the US. So just know that if you're going to look for that group. And so on that group, sellers will post if they have seeds for sale. Most of the time, or at least the people that I know and trust that I have grown from, are nursery owners who have a greenhouse filled with Hoya, and they have seeds, you know, opening all the time because they have cross-pollination happening. And I will also link the shops that I've gotten them from below as well. So if you're in the US and you want to check them out, I have bought from them many times. I trust them. And today's seeds, for example, are from Small Batch Tropicals, and they posted their seeds for sale on the US Hoya Market Facebook group. Now, you can also find seeds on places like Etsy and eBay, so I've heard. I personally have not bought any Hoya seeds from online stores like that because I'm personally a little weary of buying seeds from places like that. So from my research and from my experience now that I've grown Hoya from seed, Hoya seeds are fresh sensitive, meaning they need to get planted ASAP after harvesting and after that seed pod has burst open. I have had Hoya seeds that were pretty fresh within a couple of weeks, and I have had a batch of Hoya seeds that were a little bit older, getting closer to around like 2 months old. The fresher seeds definitely were more successful, and the older seeds, I did lose some. Like some of those seeds didn't germinate. So it is important to know how long ago that seed pod burst open and how old those seeds are. And I feel like on Etsy and eBay, you may not know the truth. Like they could be listed that these are brand new, the pod just opened, but how do we know that? What if the seed pod burst a long time ago and then they just changed the details on the listing, you know what I mean? Also, there is a lot of anywhere online, there's lots of scammers. But with seeds, I feel like it's easier for scammers to scam because how do you even know that they're real Hoya seeds? Like they could have a picture of seeds, but what if they're not really Hoya seeds and then you got scammed, you know what I mean? Or maybe they don't even ever send you the seeds, and that can happen with plants too, right? So you just have to be diligent. The sellers that I've purchased from, why did I trust them, or why did I think it would be a good idea to buy from them? Because I went and looked them up in the Facebook group first before purchasing from them to see how long they've been a member of that group, if they have other posts that people have bought from before, because you can click on a person's name in a Facebook group and see what other posts they have posted in that group. So I'll look at their previous sales that they've done. I'll see who's purchased from them. Most of the time, Facebook groups like this also have another page where people can leave reviews for sellers. And so I will go and look at reviews for that seller. If they are an actual nursery or they have a website or they have an Etsy shop, I'll go and read reviews there as well. So I do a little bit of research on anyone I'm buying plants from, plants, seeds, you name it. Do your research first before buying from them. So that's what I look for when I'm looking for seeds, right? And if it's somebody who's posted before, they've been a member for a couple of years or a while at least, and they've done seed sales and people leave good reviews, then sounds great. I'm gonna go for it. And so far that method has worked for me. Long story short, do your due diligence. I have shared that in a previous video as well. When you're buying online, be diligent. And if it starts to feel fishy, trust your gut and just don't go through with it. Because if you're feeling off, most likely it's off. Or if the deal is too good to be true, most likely it is. So don't go with that. So that's my little spiel about finding sellers online. But that's where I've gotten mine from. I have also heard from some of my friends who've commented on my recent videos that they were able to find them on eBay and the like, and it was successful. So you could find them there too. I would say maybe reach out to the seller and ask questions. That might be a good way to do it. So that's all the logistical stuff. We've gotten that out of the way. Let me reorient the camera so that you can see some of the hands-on stuff. And let's start getting to work on potting up this pack of seeds that I have here, which are Hoya Croniana Splash crossed with Unknown because they're open pollinated. Let's switch gears. All right, let's dive in to growing Hoya from seed and go over all the supplies that I'm using today. So first and foremost, you're gonna need your seeds. We talked about that. So in this little pack, I have some fresh Hoya seeds. I today am going to use seedling trays for this, and these are the little 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yes, these are the 12 cell seedling trays that you get off of Amazon. I'll link them below if you want to find them. These are clear, but most of the time these are like a green tray with like a humidity dome that goes with it. But I found these clear ones and I really like them because I can see the water level in the bottom because I want to be control over that. And with the green trays, I can't see the water level, so it's kind of a guessing game. So these have been nice to be able to see the water level. However, I have noticed that the clear seedling trays don't get as humid inside, and I think it has something to do with how this humidity dome fits on it. Like, it's not a perfect fit, and I feel like the green seedling trays fit better and hold more humidity, but I still like being able to see the water level, so that's why I use these. So in any case, this is what I'm using today. And so if you order a pack of these on Amazon, I think they come in like packs of like 10, 12, so it's a pretty good deal for like $15 to $20, something like that. Pretty cheap and affordable. The seedling tray cells come out from the bottom, and then the humidity dome goes on top, and it does have the little wheel on the top with holes so you can control the airflow. When I'm working with seedlings or alocasia corms, for example, I completely close this off so we get 100% humidity in here just to start. Then as they start to germinate and grow and sprout and grow into seedlings, then I'll open the airflow and get more of that going, but we'll cross that bridge when it gets there. So this is what I'm going to be using today. My substrate for today is my Hoya and propagation mix that I put together myself. It's super simple. I've talked about this a bunch in my other videos. It's New Zealand tree fern fiber, cocoa chips, and perlite. That's it. And then I pre-soak it in Super Thrive. Literally, how do I do that? This little plastic tray thing is like an organizer bin, and I think I got it from Target maybe. And I have a soldering iron, so I poked holes in the bottom so that it's kind of like a strainer. And then I'll put my dry substrate in here, and then my watering can with the Super Thrive, I will pour it through and just mix it so that it's all nice and wet, not sopping wet. That's why I poked holes in the bottom so that it could drain out and be moist, but we don't want it to be like sopping wet, right? So that's ready to go. I will fill the seedling trays with this, and then we'll place the seeds on top. I have a little pair of tweezers. Oh my gosh, I don't know if you can see that. I'm far away from the camera right now, so you can see all my tools. But I have a little pair of tweezers that I use for plants and seedlings, and this is perfect for seeds because they're very tiny, and I will show you what those look like. But it makes it really easy for me to pick up seeds and plop them into the seedling cells. So I have that. My little plant pot mat, so I try to minimize mess. And that's really it. That's all you need. It's that simple. And quite honestly, once you get these seeds in there, it's kind of it. It's kind of a set it and forget it thing for at least 2 to 3 weeks as they germinate. And then you water and start to add in fertilizer from there. Now, before I get into the goods and start planting these up, I want to show you some alternative ways that I have grown Hoya seed. So this is one of them in the seedling cell trays that makes it really easy once they become seedling size to take that whole thing out of the cell and then move it over to like a cup, for example, like this. So I pretty much use little plastic cups for everything. 5 ounce, 7 ounce, 9 ounce plastic cups. I use my soldering iron to poke holes in the bottom. And so what I've done with these that are grown is I have either grown them in the cells like this and then pulled them out, and it was easy to pop them into here and transplant them. That makes it really easy. And what I've also done is I've grown the seeds directly into little plastic cups like that. So I'm gonna show you some alternative ways that I've grown Hoya seeds, okay? So this first alternative method to, they almost rolled on out of there. The first alternative way that I have grown seeds is I've actually planted the seeds directly into these little plastic cups like this. And then I put them into a sealable plastic Tupperware. I got this from Dollar Tree, so a dollar store, with a lid like this, so it has 100% humidity, and that's it. I let them sit like that, and these have actually been in here for a very long time, but this made it super easy so that I didn't have to transplant anything later down the line. Like, I don't have to take them out of the seedling cells and move them over to cups. They're already ready to go like this, which is great. And I think this is my preferred way to grow Hoya seeds now that I've done it a bunch of times. But I'm still gonna show you alternative ways to do it. These are Hoya persicina X unknown, by the way. Show you all these fun little seedlings in there. Look at those. Look at that one. Is that variegation? Is it sunburn? I don't know. We're gonna find out. Only time will tell. Okay, so another way that I have grown Hoya from seed, and I will call this my lazy way, is I've taken another little plastic Dollar Tree container and I literally just laid a layer of my propagation substrate in the bottom and put the seeds right in there, close the lid, set it and forget it. So as you can see here, these are Hoya callistophila shortleaf crossed with unknown Hoya seedlings. And I just put a layer of substrate, maybe like an inch and a half, 2 inches. Drop the seeds in there. Now, I didn't just sprinkle. I used my little tweezers, which I'll show you now up close. These are my little tweezers. I used these to place the seedlings so that they did have some space between, you know, each of them. Now, with this way, I will have to take each of these plants out and transplant them into their own little pot or their own little cup. So that will take me some time, but it's not bad. So again, another way to grow these seeds. It doesn't have to be something miraculous or expensive. Dollar Tree, hello. Actually, I found so much of my supplies from like dollar stores. So definitely, you know, check those out. So those are some alternative ways that are budget friendly too. And you don't have to use a substrate like I've been using, which is my little propagation mix. You could use just tree fern fiber. You could use vermiculite. You could use sphagnum moss, which most people will use sphagnum moss for propagation or to grow seeds and seedlings. My only quip with sphagnum moss is that it is so difficult to get moss off of the roots once they have matured and sprouted and turned into seedlings. It's so time consuming, at least for me, to sit there and try to pry off each of the little fibers of moss. So I would rather put it straight into the substrate that it's gonna live in once they mature. So that's why I use my Hoya propagation mix for everything. But as I mentioned, for today, we're gonna be using seedling cell trays. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm going to put substrate in each of these little seedling cells. I will fill it to the top, and when we place the seed, we will just make sure that it's pushed in a little bit. We don't want it to sit just right at the top. We do want to push it down a little bit, and I will bring the camera really close down here so you can see all of that. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm gonna move this out of the way. Let's go ahead and put the substrate in all of the seedling cells. And I don't pack it in super tight, but I will push it down a little bit so it does, you know, fill up all the space. One thing to note with New Zealand tree fern fiber is that sometimes you get like these like really thick sticks like this. I try to break them up, but for the most part, they're pretty like sturdy. So I just take them out when I am potting stuff up. if you don't like getting dirty, which is totally valid, you can also put some gloves on if that's your thing. I just don't, because I want to be able to feel what I'm working with, and I feel like with gloves I lose that sense of touch. Like I'll gauge like moistness, and I will gauge, yeah, usually it has something to do with like water and stuff like that, like moisture. But yeah, feel free to put some gloves on if you want to. You don't have to just use your bare hands. So there we go. We have our seedling cells packed in, not super packed in or anything like that, but I do press it down a little bit so I know I'm filling in all the space. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna put the seeds right in here. So as I mentioned, these seeds are Croniana Splash crossed with Unknown, and these are from Small Batch Tropicals. She, or the owner of this shop, was so nice to print a sticker label and put this on the pack of seeds that came. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stick this on the lid of my seedling tray so I know what they are. Just like that. Awesome. The other thing that I will add to the lid here, I'll probably print another label, or I might just grab a Sharpie. I will put the date on here so we know when we started the process of growing these seeds. All right, so this is my seed packet. I'm gonna open this up. All right, very sealed and secure. Okay, make sure I don't have any seeds up here. Okay. Now, Hoya seeds are very tiny. I'll make sure I get them all. I think that's everything. Okay. So my friends, these are the Hoya seeds. They're very tiny and delicate, which is why I use little pincers. So I'm going to take one seed at a time, and I'm going to put it right down in the middle, and I'm going to push it down there a little bit. Not super far down, still pretty close to the top, but I will cover it once it's in there. That way it's kind of surrounded by the substrate, which will push the little seed to sprout. Sometimes they stick to the tongs or these little, what are these called? Tweezers, there you go. So we have to push them in there. So we had 9 seeds, which are here. So these we didn't need, but I have some more seeds coming in, so that's fine. I'll just add to it and put another label. But that's it. So from here, I'm going to put this into the little bottom. I'm going to add some water to the tray so that there's always a little bit of water at the bottom of the tray to keep that moisture up. Moisture is really important when you are germinating seeds, and high humidity. So again, I'm going to pop that humidity dome on here. These are completely closed off, and I'm going to keep it at 100% humidity for 2 to 3 weeks. In my experience, I will start to see germination in 2 to 3 weeks, and if you check, what that looks like is you'll see the little seed break open. You'll start to see little fuzzy roots pop out. You may start to see the little tiny sprouts pop up from the bottoms of, or the tops of the substrate here. So that is how you know you've had a successful germination, is you start to see roots and little sprouts. And then as they start to mature a little bit more and the turn into seedlings, that's when we can move the airflow gauge around and start to introduce it to less humidity and go from there. So that's it. It's that simple. It is really that simple. Again, it doesn't have to be a mix like this. It could be sphagnum moss. It could be a substrate of your choice. It doesn't have to be in seedling cell trays. It can be in a dollar Tupperware, plastic Tupperware. It could be a Tupperware that you got from takeout last week. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be anything crazy. And it's a lot simpler than it seems. Now, once all of this is done, let's talk about how to get these babies to sprout successfully. First things first, patience is key. As I mentioned, it does take anywhere between 1 to 3 weeks to start seeing germination. And then from there, it takes a really long time for these Hoyas to start to fully mature and develop. For example, my seed tray over here, all of these were started in the fall to winter of last year, like somewhere between October through December of 2024. And I'm now starting to see this big growth development. Now that we're in springtime, a lot of these seedlings have exploded. These ones in the back, the Obscura, are growing a little bit slower. Whoops. Another thing to keep in mind is as the seedlings start to develop, so for example, the ones that I have in the dollar store Tupperware that don't have little cups or seedling cells, I just laid a layer flat. I haven't touched those in a really long time. And I noticed that once they kind of sprouted and started to become seedlings, they kind of stunted their growth in that little Tupperware. Whereas there are other Tupperwares that have grown like that. And once I have taken them out and transplanted them into their own cups, that's when they started to upsize. So I think if you leave them in their little, germination trays for a little too long, they'll kind of just stay stagnant. So you do want to make sure if you're doing one layer of substrate or something like that, that they do get upsized and moved into their own container so that those roots have room to grow and to develop, and it's not competing with all the other seedlings that are in the tray, right? So I place all of my seedlings, and this goes for propagating alocasia, propagating wet sticks. I place all of these under Barina T5 lights. I have strip lights that are on my brand new shelf that's behind me. I'll have to do a tour of this because I wanted to do a video setting this up and styling it and decorating it, but it just got to the point where I was like, look, this needs to get done. And for my own sanity, I threw it together and I love it. So I'll just do a tour of it instead. But in any case, I have Barina T5 strip lights on these, and my lower shelves that you cannot see down here are all seedling trays. So I plop mine down there so it gets direct light. It's pretty close to the trays too. I'd say this is the distance from the light to the tray. So that's great. And I always keep some water in the bottom so that it has access to moisture and can, create that humidity. But you do want to make sure you maintain a good amount of moisture in here. You don't want the seeds to dry out. So that's why I always keep water in the bottom. And I guess that covers everything. Now that I've kind of made this video, it's a lot simpler than what I thought it was when I first started getting into it. It is a test of patience, so your patience will be tested. But I promise you, it is so rewarding in the end. So I guess that brings us to the end of this video. If you found this helpful, if you have questions, if you've already given Hoya seeds a try and have other methods, please go down in the comments, drop all of that knowledge so that we can all continue to grow together, because that's truly the point of all this and my channel, is so that all of us plant people can come together and grow together. So until the next one, my friends, stay curious, stay green, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.